Caram here in studio. Stephen A. and Max are on the road. Gentlemen, how are we on this Feel Good Friday?
Good morning.
I don't know
morning,
about
Stephen.
Max, but I am beautiful this morning,
You
Molly.
are.
I am beautiful this morning. Listen,
Why?
I'm a diehard Yankee fan, and I watched my man Giancarlo Stanton come out the blocks and rock the house. 2 home runs, a double, 4 RBIs. I mean, I'm looking at the National League MVP, and I'm like, my brother, welcome to the greatest franchise in the history of sports.
Man speaks the
The
truth,
New
Molly.
York
You spend
Yankees,
enough money,
way to
so
handle
better
your
be.
business, baby.
Yankees, seventh highest
Don't hate
payroll
the
in
player.
baseball. Seventh.
Hate the game.
Seventh.
Oh, seven.
That's right.
Thanks
Seventh.
for clearing that up.
Number 1 market, 7th highest payroll.
Guys, you know who's joining
That
us a
is
little
true,
later?
Max.
Did you pay attention?
Our heads are like little Yankees
Steph Curry.
dancing in our heads.
Yeah.
right now.
Steph Curry's coming too.
Yes.
Steph Curry coming too. Listen. He just happens to be the greatest shooter
Curry
ever
with
in
the
history
shot,
of
he's
basketball.
Okay.
Pretty good, that guy.
Oh, that's very disrespectful, Stephen A. Much more than that. We'll get into that.
He knows I got love for him.
All right, guys, rough night, though, for Kevun Durant in his return, picking up 2 quick technical fouls, which resulted in an automatic ejection. It was the 14th technical this season in his 5th ejections. He's now 2 techs away from an automatic 1-game suspension, which we all know could really hurt his squad. Stephen A., what's the problem with KD right now?
I don't want to hear that question. No disrespect to you, Molly, or anybody else.
Okay.
Kevun Durant is not the problem here. I watched that game last night. Kevun Durant did not deserve to be ejected. He is absolutely right, and anybody that don't have a conversation about Kevun Durant being the villain in this doesn't know what they're talking about. The fact of the matter is the officials are the problem here, and to some degree the league office has some level of culpability. For the interest of full disclosure, let me give a little history here. Former Commissioner David Stern, a man that I have profound respect for. I love him a lot. I just love the job that he did. Got a lot of love for Adam Silver, too, but I've always had love for David Stern. Let me be very, very clear. David Stern was somebody who was religiously against the histrionics that players would engage in. One of the things that drove him absolutely nuts, and I'm talking about personal conversations on the record with David Stern. One of the things that drove him absolutely nuts, Max, was the fact that you would see guys arguing over every call and getting on the officials even when they knew they were wrong. You know, the acting jobs and all of that other stuff that they would put forth. That appalled David Stern and raked his nerves to the nth degree. I believe that had something to do with the officials thereby being more empowered than ever before to issue these kind of technical fouls. But I don't believe that the commissioner then, nor the present commissioner, Adam Silver, meant for it to get to this point. The NBA has successfully globalized its brand. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Basketball is loved and adored and embraced the world over. The stars are the ones that have facilitated that happening. We can't celebrate the greats like Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Lord Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, to the Michael Jordan era and beyond. We can't pick those stars who were instrumental in elevating the NBA brand and then forget about them now because some official has an attitude. A Hall of Famer, a 2-time champion, one of the greatest point guards in the history of the game, Isaiah Thomas, was on TNT last night, and he said it best. You know, the referee has some culpability here. You got to know when to walk away. You issued a technical foul. I have no problem with that. That happens. But how do you go from no tech at all in the game to instantly being ejected because you're arguing a foul call that you should have received? Kevun Durant was fouled on that play, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times on the same play. He was fouled, knocked to the ground. He got up. Sure, he was demonstrative a little bit. He was upset. Even though he was right, you can understand him getting a technical foul. But the official did not walk away. He didn't exercise a deaf ear. He literally gave him a quick hook. So 18 to 19,000 people, make no mistake about it, they didn't come through the turnstiles to watch Swaggy P. Let's be clear about that. No disrespect to Nick Young. But that's not what they're talking about here. Stars sell the game of the NBA. And when you got a star like Kevin Durant being ejected, it needs to be a pretty damn good reason, not something this suspect. And the fact that it is this suspect is a cause for alarm, because you cannot have an official being comfortable enough with ejecting one of the top 3 players on the planet over something like that. That is as egregious as it gets as far as I'm concerned. It's officials overstepping their bounds, and we've seen it on numerous occasions this season. Steph Curry's been ejected. Kevin Durant's been ejected. LeBron James has been ejected.
Yeah, but
somebody has to step up and do something about it. It's got to stop.
I have no problem with the question, what is the problem with Durant? Because there is a problem. KD is thin-skinned, period. He's insecure. He comes off that way at least. He is leading the league in ejections, in techs. I mean, you know, let me tell you the guy who's had the most ejections in recent years. That's Rasheed Wallace. KD right now is tied with Charles Barkley in a single season. So, I mean, listen, all great players. Rasheed Wallace is a great player. Charles Barkley, obviously great player. KD, obviously great player. But in each case, they had certain behavioral issues on the court. I mean, you know, we know what Rasheed Wallace was about, Charles Barkley, but we don't perceive Kevin Durant, or at least didn't perceive him like that early on, because it was easy to fall into the narrative because he was playing in Oklahoma City. Kind of like a country kid who's quiet and nice, and everyone likes KD, and that may be true, but he's an intense competitor, and his gifts will put him in the spotlight. But some are more prepared just kind of naturally for the spotlight than others. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, their gifts put them in the spotlight, and they had the personalities to handle it. KD is gifted like that, but his personality doesn't handle the attention quite as well. And so, listen, he's had burner Twitter accounts. He's had beef with people in the media, Stephen A. Smith. He's ejected more than anybody else. Now, it'd be one thing if you said the refs don't know when to walk away. Well, okay, but that applies to everyone and all the stars. Why is it KD who is leading the league in ejections? And if you watch that play, KD was right to be mad. He was fouled clearly on his way to the basket, and the ref blew it. Wasn't called. The play is still going on. KD is over on the baseline arguing with the ref, approaching the ref. KD, the play is still going on. That doesn't, his focus is so shifted by that. Watch.
Once he got up, I'm saying the play was still going on, but he approached the ref after the, you know, go ahead. No, the ball was still moving around. No, you see what I'm saying? I see what you're saying. So when the ref blew his whistle is when it stopped. I got you, Max. Go ahead.
Right, but he's still, so like, KD, he doesn't have to understand it, but it's the truth. People in the media want to like KD. KD, there's something about him that is likable, but that doesn't mean he's not also thin-skinned. He is, and he does not take criticism well. He does not take kindly to blown calls. What do you think, the refs only blow the calls on KD? Is he somehow less respected than other superstars? You know how often LeBron is going to the rim and doesn't get a call because he's so big and strong? KD is going to have to learn. Look, if you curse out a ref, what do you think's going to happen? And then you don't walk away, you might get tossed. Why is he getting tossed more than anyone else?
Well, let me say this, Max. There are very, very few people on the planet Earth that's qualified to speak to KD's sensitivity better than me. Let's say that, okay? I think that's a safe bet to say, considering, you know, the verbal sparring that he and I have had on occasion.
I mentioned it. People in the media he's had beef with. You primarily.
But what I'm saying to you is, even with that said, I can stand here and come to this man's defense. Because the fact of the matter is he was wronged last night, and he's been wronged on several occasions this year. There were a couple of times he didn't deserve to be ejected. The fact of the matter is you could point to the thin skin, and I'm not denying that he has thin skin at times. Of course, we've lamented that on occasion, but that doesn't make the quality of his argument dissipate in any way. The fact is, if you're getting fouled, remember, when LeBron got ejected, there was no excuse to eject LeBron James. What I'm saying to you is, you're pointing to the sensitivity of Kevun Durant. I'm saying if you look at the collective behavior of the officials, it's become so alarming that they were going to meet with the players, or they met with the Players Association during All-Star Weekend, because we're seeing behavior exercised by them where we can make the argument they're more sensitive than the players.
Let's put it this way. Let's agree with that premise. Let's take for granted the fact something's going on with the refs, right? So if what you take from this latest incident is, hey, the refs need to be addressed, my question is, why is it KD who is leading the league in ejections? Are they blowing more calls on him than anyone else? It doesn't seem that way to me.
Can I answer that? I'd like to answer that question. I'd like to answer that question.
About KD?
No, I'd like to ask you that. I'd like to answer that question. And let me give you just a little tidbit of information about the game of basketball in this respect, Max. When you are that great of a player, but you're also that skinny, guess what? You're going to invite a level of physicality, because that's the only damn way anybody can stop you. So as a result of that, okay, put a hat on him, do this to him, do that to him. So he may very well be in a position where he has more validity to his complaints.
Let me ask
you this. Hold on. My only point, because I'm coming with a question to you. My only point to you would be this. When you look at the officials, Max, it does not alarm you that 18, 19,000 people can walk through the turnstiles and pay to see a product that we all know is sold and leans on heavily and marketed by and literally dependent on the stars. It doesn't alarm you that officials can have no regard for that?
I'd like to see the Stars stay in the game. I sometimes get the feeling that they realize that too and take some liberties. If you curse out a ref, you're getting teed up. If you stay in his face, you're getting teed up again and tossed. Everyone knows this, but KD keeps getting tossed. That's not true. 1, 2, LeBron James. You think KD gets fouled going to the rim and not called more than LeBron? To me, it seems like LeBron, if anything, gets that more. But he's not getting ejected all the time.
No, but I think it affects KD more. I think it affects.
Well,
listen, Max.
If KD's going to have to learn how to deal with that.
Hold on. Max, if you're a muscle-bound dude with muscles coming out of your earlobes, it's going to affect you a little bit less than a dude that's a tad bit heavier than Manute Bol.
Hold on.
God rest his soul. I mean, come on now.
But if you're the big, strong guy, you're going to have to deal with it more often, not less often. And here's the bottom line, Stephen A. What's the problem with KD? Then your answer might be, hey, he's a skinny dude who's going to get, part of the strategy is going to be, put a body on him on the way to the basket and, put something on him, and he's not going to be happy about it. But going into the playoffs, he's going to have to be aware of it, right? I mean, that is an issue he's going to have to deal with better than he's dealt with during the regular season.
Max,
or the Warriors, who are already in trouble, don't have a shot.
But Max, you're not holding the officials accountable. The great Hall of Fame officials in NBA history, they will sit up there and they will tee you up, and then they'd warn you, they'd tell you to get away from them, to shut up, watch your mouth, and they'll walk away from you. They don't just sit up there and tee you up inside of 5 seconds.
Let me ask you this. Are the officials
they don't do that, Max.
So I agree with you. The officials are doing
These guys do.
Yup. The officials are doing what you're claiming. And now the question is, what does KD want to do about it? Right? Remember what Mills Lane used to say
about it?
Stephen A., remember what Mills Lane...
Why are you not asking what the league should do about it?
Remember what Mills Lane used to say on his Judge show? He said, I'm not final because I'm right. I'm right because I'm final. KD want to take it to the league in the offseason, fine. But this is the way it is right now. What's he going to do about it heading into the playoffs?
This is not the NFL. Hold on, this is not the NFL. You don't have to wait until the offseason. The fact of the matter is, the league office, which obviously, the officials answer to somebody, you can sit up there and remind those officials, look, this stuff is important. You're going to eject somebody of that magnitude. Excuse me, you got to have a better case than you did last night. Stop the nonsense. You can do that right now. It doesn't have to wait until the offseason. You can do that right now.
Right
now.
Calm down, Katie.
Warriors are 3-7 in their last 10. We will ask Steph Curry all about this when he joins us in just a little bit. But let's keep it moving, gentlemen. In the association, bad news for the Sixers, who some like Paul Pierce thought had a shot at the Eastern Conference Finals. They just lost Joel Embiid for 2 to 4 weeks due to facial surgery he needs to have after colliding with Markelle Fultz on Wednesday. This timeline, according to our Zach Lowe, the Sixers said he's also experiencing concussion symptoms and has an orbital fracture of his left eye. Max, the process. Yep. How concerned should the Sixers be?
Totally. Listen, if we're talking short term, they ain't going to beat the Pacers 4 out of 7 without Joel Embiid. Embiid is an insane monster. He's a monster. Embiid, like, the reason he went third in the draft is because he's injury prone. And it's funny how injury prone guys say, well, this is a freak occurrence. Seems to happen to them. They are prone to freak occurrences, I suppose. And he is one of these guys. So short term, they are now going to lose in the first round without Embiid. Rest assured, even with Ben Simmons, they can't do it. And you look at the plus minus with Embiid on the court, or the points per possession, per 100 possessions, all that stuff with Embiid on the court, both ends of the court, by the way, because he's a monster on both ends. It's not good. So short term, very concerned. Long term, the fact of the matter is this wasn't the Sixers' time yet anyway. The only question with the Sixers after Hinkie put them in this position is, will Colangelo mess it up, yes or no? The early returns don't look good. He took Markelle Fultz with the #1 overall pick. But as long as Brian Colangelo doesn't really mess this up, what Hinkie handed him on a platter, ooh, the next couple of years are going to be good for the Sixers. Just not this one in the postseason.
Well, first of all, I still think that the Philadelphia 76ers could end up getting out of the first round. The bottom line is that 2 to 4 weeks, as long as Embiid is back for the playoffs, and I believe he will be, I think that everything is going to be just fine. If this were his leg, it would be, or his foot, it would be an entirely different concern, no question. But the fact that this is his upper extremities in this particular case is I'm not concerned about it in the slightest. He'll be just fine. I mean, you look at Markelle Fultz. I mean, first you're not talking to the media. Now, now you got to end up getting your big man hurt. Not the greatest week for Markelle Fultz. Let's just say that. But I believe in him as a talent now that his shot seems to be coming back. Everything I hear about him is that he can play, and he's going to add something to the equation that when healthy, this brother can ball. It was a freak accident. It happens. But I think in the end, the orbital fracture, when they said 2 to 4 weeks, I'm concerned. If it was 6 to 8 weeks, that would be different. They'd be going home in the first round. But the fact that it's 2 to 4 weeks tells me he'll be back for the playoffs, first round, likely against Indiana. And I think under those circumstances, Joel Embiid will be just fine.
Indiana's good, though. I mean, that the Paul, and we haven't yet debated this.
Oladipo's the real deal. He's the real deal.
They won the Paul George trade. Let's be honest. I mean, Presti got a lot of love for grabbing Paul George in that deal, but it turns out, no, in fact, Indiana got the better of it. Look, Paul George may be a one-year rental. They got Oladipo.
Well, I'm just saying it's the regular season. I want to see what he does in the playoffs. When you're the number one option and playoffs. Hold on. When you're the number one option, it's the playoffs, and it's a best 4 of 7 with no back-to-backs, and we get to lock in on you and prepare for you. I have faith in Oladipo because I think he's a big-time player. Please don't get me wrong, but in the same breath, I've seen what Paul George has done in the postseason. I want to see what Oladipo does in the postseason.
Right now, the Pacers are looking good on that trade. And the Sixers, if Embiid gets back in time for the playoffs, gets his basketball legs, the whole thing is ready to go, then sure, I would favor this.
Who should they want, the Sixers, in the first round?
Well, listen, you mean Indiana or whom?
Playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about Indiana, Washington, Milwaukee. It could be any of those teams.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Between Indiana, Washington, and Milwaukee, is that the question?
Yeah,
Indiana may
right
be
now,
last,
hold on, Max. Hold on, Max.
Hold on, Max.
I'll help you out here. Right now, Philadelphia is the 4th seed. Indiana's the 5th seed. They're both, their percentages, they're right there, 45 and 31, 44 and 40. And Washington is like the 6th seed, but they're like 3.5 games back. So the likelihood is that it's going to be Philadelphia and Indiana in the first round.
Right, and if Embiid isn't ready to go, they're not getting out of the first round, period.
Oh, by the way, Philadelphia,
some way. Indiana's going to beat them.
By the way, Max, Philadelphia is only a half game behind Cleveland for the number 3 seed.
By the way, with Embiid and Simmons, the specialness of that combination, when you consider their age as well, like when Magic was a rookie, he was incredible, and Kareem was the MVP, but Kareem was in the middle of his career already, later stages almost of his career. We're talking about 2 players this young and this good, a point guard and a center. Other than Penny and Shaq, what comp is there in the history of basketball? It is a ridiculous level of talent to have at those 2 positions.
Yeah, they just need to all be healthy. healthy at once, for once, and then we could see it.
For once. Good point, Molly.
Coming up, guys, after contract stall, Le'Veon Bell is saying he's been wronged by the city of Pittsburgh. Is it time for him to stop talking? And Canelo Alvarez is probably going to have to wait until after Cinco de Mayo, Stephen A., to fight Triple G again. We'll debate how much canceling this fight could do. Stay here.
Still to come on First Take.